We're back. Look at that. Another interesting person visiting us today here. This is James, the box office artist.
Right on.
And man, what an entrance you made today. Because it was just like another day around here, and then you rolled in and you were like, "Oh, I have some things to give you guys."
That's right.
And I didn't know what to expect. I had this package in front of me. And then all of a sudden, these get pulled out. It's me and Willie Doo looking a little bit, just a slight bit more buff than usual. Just a tiny touch.
No, mine's accurate.
Yeah, no, it's not enough. If you ask me.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I'm just like, I'm examining the artwork here. Obviously, this is that's your thing.
Yep.
You are all about illustration and comic book style. Marvel, DC. Mm-hmm. I watched a couple of your videos. Obviously, I started with your most recent, the 24-hour Stickman.
Yes.
So there's kind of like a challenge element to what you're doing there as well.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
With timing and like that. Well, for example, that one you had a time limit of, I guess, 24 hours.
Yeah, 24 hours there. YouTube's changed a lot since when I first started, because before I could just like draw something, shrink time lapse it, put some music in it, and it's done. But but these days that doesn't really get people to watch. And to be honest, these type of videos are much more fun for me. Like adding a little bit of element of surprise, suspense, just adds more to the actual artwork itself, right? So that's why we like to add time limits, any sort of challenge to help the entertainment value of every video, for sure.
And I mean, even just the approach, because you think about how to stay creative, come up with ideas. Like, obviously, there's some merit in just drawing a single individual character.
Oh, for sure.
But then you've probably done that.
Yeah.
And so you're having to come up with ways to create new and interesting concepts. So here it's like, oh, it's a stick man for 25. But then I'm clicking on it and I'm like, oh, wait a sec. It's a very detailed stick man in which the actual body of the stick man is every superhero you could possibly imagine, and villain, and so forth.
Right on. Yeah, because I like doing these type of meme type videos. I've done a couple of Stickman videos in the past, and they actually did really well for me. That came about when I had a series called The Most Detailed Drawing Ever, so I would take Transformers and just add an obscene amount of detail to them, and then people would comment, "Hey, I'd like to see you draw a detailed Stickman." And I'm like, oh, okay, why don't we give that a try? So I tried one, and it did pretty well. I think this was my first one. This is the first one I did. And it pretty much, I just took made him a literal stick man. That's what I did. I just turned him into some,
It's like it's Groot.
Pretty much, yeah. Like a thinner Groot.
Uh-huh.
and then after that, I did one more where I added more of a challenge to it. So I added a time limit. So I drew it 5 times in different times. And that actually was my most profitable video. Not my most viewed video, but definitely my most profitable.
What does that mean? What do you mean profitable? Like,
I think the thing with drawing videos, sometimes people come and watch it and they just want to see what it looks like at the end. So people like
low retention.
Yeah, exactly. Much lower retention. This one here, they watched pretty much all the way through.
Which one are we talking about?
This one here, the 10 hour, 1 hour, 10 minute. That one there.
Wow.
That one here. But
is it because of the way you structured it? You think that's what's going on there?
Absolutely. So people wanted to see what the 10-second looked like, the 1 minute, 10 minute. And then the last one, I kind of fooled everybody. I actually drew a team of trees at the end. So and people
was
like
it part of the Team Trees promo?
It was actually.
Okay.
It was actually.
Cool.
Yeah. So it's a whole bunch of every tree character I could think of. I threw into this particular piece here.
Now, so your typical toolkit here consists of like these ink style markers.
Yep, for
Is
sure.
that what we can call them? What would we call these?
Microns, fine liner type pens. Markers. Pretty much. It's very comic book style. Like I was a comic book artist for like 6 years. Then I worked in film for quite a few years before heading into YouTube. So that comic book side of me, that's what I wanted to bring over to my YouTube channel.
I see.
So the way I drew you guys, that's how I would draw when I was working for Marvel and DC back in the day.
Yeah. So you actually were working for Marvel and DC at a point.
Absolutely. I've had about a 20-year career in art. So I started as a comic book artist. well, if you want to go the whole story,
Whatever you like. Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
Let's start for the whole. Let's start right at the beginning. Of course, growing up, especially having Asian parents, they wanted you to be a doctor. Back then, for sure.
I see.
I always liked drawing. But I never thought of it as a career until my last year of high school. And this was a long time ago. This is when we had OACs back in the day.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, that's Ontario Academic Credit. So year 5 of high school. I don't think you went through that. Did
No,
you?
I didn't.
You missed
but
that, right?
I remember it.
Yes, yeah. So my last year of high school, I needed so many OAC credits, and I thought, you know what? I don't want to be a doctor anymore. I want to draw. So I made a deal with my mom. I said, let me go to art college. If I can't get a job afterwards, I'll go back into medicine. So I went to Sheridan College. I took illustration, and then afterwards, I got my first job in comic books. And I went back and forth between many companies. I think the most famous comic I worked on was Transformers at the time. I was one of the artists for Transformers. I became known as a Transformers artist, but then I went to work for Marvel DC. I worked on Hulk, Wonder Woman, and that was till about 2006 when I decided the freelance life was really tough because I was always, when you're a freelance artist, sometimes all the work comes at once, and then sometimes you have no work for like 6 months. That's usually how it is. So I wanted something a little bit more stable. So I went back to school. I took computer animation at Sheridan here, and then I started working in film. I moved to Vancouver for 3 years. I worked on Stargate. I worked on Percy Jackson. I worked on a whole bunch of movies. I was a 3D modeler at the time. Then I moved back to Toronto, and I worked on a few productions here. I worked on Underworld, Battle LA, a few movies here. And that was until about 2015. I actually started my YouTube channel in 2013. I had a little time off. I saw this guy on YouTube drawing some eyes, and it got a lot of views. I'm like, I could draw eyes on the internet. I could do that. So I started my YouTube channel. At first, I kind of wanted to be more like a movie reviewer. So I thought, well, how can I make myself different? So what I'll do is, if a new movie's coming out, at that time, Iron Man 3, I'll take a preview of that movie, or I'll preview that movie, but I'll draw it at the same time. So if you watch my very, very first videos, it's me on a green screen talking about the movie. And the thing is, people love the artwork, and they hated my reviews. So I was like, oh, okay, fine, I get it. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll just focus on the drawing. So I did it off and on for a couple years. That was till about 2015. A friend of mine at work encouraged me to start doing more videos, so I did, and I really enjoyed it. And by that time, I was 38 years old at the time, and I talked to my wife, and I said, you know what, I never really did art for me before. Like, I would always do art for other people, do art for other companies, but I never did art on my own terms, and I would like to try it. So I started teaching aside just to keep the money coming in, and then I started focusing on my YouTube channel at the time. So I went full time. I quit my job in 2015, and I just started making YouTube videos, just trying everything under the sun. And one thing I tried to do, I made this gigantic Star Wars piece. It took me about 6 months to produce. So what I did was I drew every single Star Wars character. It says 450 hours if you just scroll down there. Oh. I drew Star Wars for 450 hours. That one there, 450-hour drawing, that's the one there. Down, one more down. That's the one. That's the one. That's the one. The red one. Yes, that's the one. That's the one. So I decided, because I was a huge Star Wars fan at the time, Force Awakens just came out. So I decided to draw this gigantic piece. It was like 5.5 feet tall, about 9 feet wide, and just for fun, just for YouTube. And then Lucasfilm saw it, and they asked me to be on the Star Wars show. So they brought me down to San Francisco, and I displayed it in their offices, and that was a lot of fun. And then I decided, okay, I had my fun. Now it's time to go back to work. But the thing about the visual effects industry, if you're out of work for a certain amount of time, then it's hard to get back in because the programs change. Like, a lot of things change and how to do the job. And I was too expensive at the time because I was a senior artist. So I tried to apply to some jobs, and they felt that getting 2 junior guys would be cheaper than getting me to come back. So I was kind of stuck. I'm like, okay, I'll continue doing this YouTube thing at the time. So I remember in 2018, I was on Twitter, like at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I saw Kevin Feige. If for those who don't know, Kevin Feige is the guru of Marvel. He's the one who masterminded all these MCU films, right? So I saw he was tweeting, and I tweeted him this image. I tweeted him this image. Like, hey, we'd love to do something like this for you. And then the next day, I get an email from Marvel, from their marketing team. And then they said, Kevin saw your stuff. He likes it. We don't know what we're going to do yet. Just stay tuned. Just stay tuned. I'm like, okay, we'll see what happens, right? So fast forward 5 months later, I think it was like January, he messaged me again, and he's like, okay, we're definitely going to do something for Infinity War. I don't know what yet. I don't know what. Stay tuned. And then about a month before the movie, he goes to me, okay, James, you got 5 weeks. What can you do for us in 5 weeks? So I said, okay, I know why they're hiring me, because they saw that Star Wars piece. And I said, okay, I'll still try to draw every single movie here. So at the time, it was 18 movies. So for 5 weeks, I didn't sleep. And actually, this is it. That's definitely a part of it. And I drew every single movie, not as big as the other one, but I drew every single movie, and they used it as this giant mural to display in theaters all over the world at that time. Yeah, and that was fun. Now, at this point, and actually, you'll have the exclusive on this because I never really told this publicly except on my channel. They flew me out to LA to go be interviewed and to show the mural and everything. And when we got back, my wife, she was feeling a little slow, and yeah, she wasn't well. Let's just say that we thought it was mono. And it went for a few weeks, and then she went out with her friends, and then her friend said, hey, your face looks a little droopy. Maybe you should go to the hospital. So we went to the emergency room, and I was just fully expecting them to just tell us mono. But then what happened was they found 2 tumors in her brain, really, really big ones. And they needed to come out right away. And so they took him out. And then a few weeks later, we found out that she had stage 4 cancer at the time. And it was very shocking, of course. How could it not be? So I told my wife, you know what? Okay, I had my fun, all this. We need something stable now. I need to go back to work. Yeah, I'll figure it out. I'll try to get my job back. And then she told me no. She said, this is what you love doing. I know it. I see it in your eyes. Every time you post a video, you enjoy doing this. This is what you love. We'll figure it out. I would rather spend my remaining days with you being happy. That's what she told me. So I said, okay, we'll give it a shot. And at this time, I was around maybe about 50, 60,000 subscribers at the time. And then a couple months later, my son came home, and he brought this drawing. He designed this character, right? It was a really cool character. And I said, well, that's a really cool character. What if I try to draw it in my comic book style? So that's what I did. And that was my very first video to go viral, that particular video. That was my first video to hit 1 million views. Me redrawing my son's drawing, because the thing was, I was ready to quit right before that. But my wife made me continue on. So this was around, this was 2018. And then from that's the one. That's one right there. Well, this is a compilation, but that first one there, that was the one. That was that was the drawing there.
Even your son's drawing is pretty cool there, actually.
Yeah, he doesn't like drawing anymore.
Really?
He'd rather play games.
Sure.
I got to force him to draw, right? So, but then after that, it was like from that year, for the next year, it seemed like I kept getting viral video after viral video. So within a year, that's where I grew from the 60,000 to 1 million. In a year. That was from all the different viral videos that came out at the time. Yeah,
that's really interesting to me that the first one to take off is your son's design.
Yes, absolutely.
Of all the title thumbnail combinations,
right,
of things to capture attention, I mean, the concept now that I'm watching it is really cool.
Right. Yeah.
Because every kid would love to imagine their character fully formed.
Right, exactly.
So I grasp it, but I just wonder how people found it. Did it end up getting reposted on certain websites, or do you know?
To be honest, I have no idea. And it took a while. It took about a month before it started getting traction. I didn't really even think anything of it, right? I just posted it. I thought it was a cool video, and just people were drawn to it. I found.
Well, that's
Yeah.
it can be, you can have these key moments. Like, I mean, the way you talk about it, it seems evident that you can pinpoint
Right.
these sort of critical moments that had an impact or like allowed for the thing to continue to progress. It could be an influence of another person or a certain event. And in this case, you had a combination of factors that encouraged you, and those moments are big. Obviously,
Absolutely.
you're
Yeah.
bringing your own passion and enthusiasm, but we need these other external pieces at times to sort of act as that extra push.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And then sometimes we don't know where it comes from. It just kind of happens. So, sometimes I don't even want to question it. It's like, if it comes, that's fantastic. I'll just kind of roll with it.
Well, I mean, it's going back to the sort of origin of it all. The difference between the lifestyle of a doctor and the lifestyle of an artist, it kind of far apart, aren't they?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
And
for sure.
so, did you know, like, at what point in your life did you start down this path? Were you always creative? Were you always artistic?
Oh, definitely always artistic for sure. Like, whenever someone asks me when I start drawing, I'll tell them 3, but that's a lie because I have no idea. Because as far as I know, I was always been drawing. I love cartoons growing up, so I would always try to redraw cartoons. Like my favorites were He-Man, the old
yeah, I used to
Spider-Man
watch
cartoon.
He-Man. Yeah,
back in the day,
absolutely.
Transformers.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
whatever I saw, I would draw. But again, never really thinking that it would come into a career. I didn't really get into comic books till high school. Actually, I had a good friend. He was a comic book collector. And he really pushed me to start collecting comics. And then I just love what I saw in the 90s. Jim Lee, the old Image comic guys, they really influenced my style and even the way I draw today. But again, I never really thought of it as a job. And that was until I realized, okay, I actually like doing this. So
Yeah, YouTube has created these avenues that I mean, they just didn't exist previously. Even you, speaking of your experience, having gone sort of the more traditional path, taking this interest that you have into, applying for jobs or trying to find work within the industry as it was.
right, yeah,
And then kind of stumbling into the YouTube thing, which obviously I've spoken to a number of YouTubers, and there's a similarity there in those stories of, look, I was passionate or enthusiastic about this. I didn't exactly know how there was a business there,
right,
but I started posting and then discovered there was a business there.
Right,
And that's
absolutely.
something that you discovered as well. So it's always cool to watch people doing the things that they are passionate about. However, they make that thing possible. Today's sponsor, DoorDash. And as you can tell from the front page there, before he even puts an address in, I see a salad, I see some ice cream, and I think I see tacos on the right-hand side.
You are correct.
I feel like those are all things that I like and enjoy. And it's something I didn't know at first when I first started using DoorDash, was that, I mean, you can actually get DoorDash to pick up something like a carton of ice cream. That's doable. It's not a problem.
Something cold.
Something cold or something from the convenience store.
Yes.
That's a feature that they added. And what happens when you're in the app, you may have your initial food order and then it'll be like, hey, you want us to make a little pit stop? You want anything extra? Did you forget something from the store? And that'll be like a on the way after picking up the initial meal. So everything is coordinated.
You can get pizza with deodorant.
And yeah, that's what. That sounds a little bit gross, but maybe you need both things. It's quite
Yes.
possible.
Yeah. It's time to get back out there. But if you're not quite ready for a full-blown adventure, there's still ways to explore the world from the comfort of your home. With DoorDash, you don't even need to travel far to experience something new. Get what you want to eat right now and right to your door with DoorDash. With over 300 partners, you can support your neighborhood go-tos or choose from one of your favorite national restaurants like Popeyes, Chipotle, and Cheesecake Factory. For a limited time, our listeners can get 25% off and 0 delivery fees on your first order of $15 or more when you download the DoorDash app and enter code Lew Later 2021. That's 25% off up to $10 value and 0 delivery fees on your first order when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter code Lew Later 2021. Don't forget, the code's Lew Later 2021 for 25% off your first order with DoorDash.
We're also sponsored by Audible. This is a fantastic way to catch up on all kinds of amazing content, particularly, I mean, obviously you got your books on there, but They add a lot more stuff recently too, as far as podcasts and Audible originals. It's a huge catalog to choose from. And the main thing for me is, if I ever find myself stuck in a car, I want to make the most of my time stuck in the car. And sometimes I like to plan in advance. If I know I got a road trip ahead, like I got a trip coming up. It's going to be a road trip very soon. And I'm already scouring. I'm already looking there. I'm thinking,
Some Margaret Atwood.
I'm just trying to decide, what might fit that particular road trip as far as an audiobook is concerned. I look at the new Matthew McConaughey right there.
Look at.
I don't think you can play a sample, but look at it.
He's weathered.
He looks rugged.
Yes.
He looks Texas, which is what he's been all about recently.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he's always been all about it. But listen, you don't need to be stuck in your car listening to, crap. You can actually make use of your time, learn something, learn about someone, or be entertained in a form of an audiobook. You can get a free audiobook too. Just head over to Audible.
So I watched the recent movie Dune, and I want to check out the audiobook and see how it plays out. So right now, if you visit audible.com/Lew Later or text Lew Later to 500-500, you'll get 1 credit, good for any premium selection titles you like, yours to keep. You'll also get an Audio Plus catalog of podcasts, audiobooks, guided wellness, and Audible originals. Listen all you want, no credits needed. So once again, go to audible.com/Lew Later or text Lew Later to 500-500. Thank you to Audible.
And our last sponsor is one that you guys know well. It's Manscaped, world famous for grooming one's hair, no matter where it happens to be. Well, let's get this out the way. Targeted at the sensitive regions, targeted at the balls. But I want to tell you, I've been having a couple of conversations around the office. Kirk just told me, this is just a good razor all around. And I have to agree with him. Because if you think about it, it could be sensitive all kinds of places.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And nobody wants the tugging or the pulling, no matter where it is, if it's the balls or otherwise. And so this with the ceramic blade on there, with the light on there, with the charging, the 4.0, the performance, 7,000 RPM wireless charging. The 4.0 does it all. But I got a couple of other products over here I'm excited for because I have been asking for that weed whacker forever with the nose hairs and whatnot as I become an elder statesman.
Yes.
And so that's here now. I'm going to give that a shot. I see they got shampoo, conditioner. They got the Shears 2.0. I'm dropping things. And they also got the refined cologne over here. So it's I'm dropping more things. The wide world of Manscaped products continues to expand, and you're getting left out. So get your butt over there and start grooming.
So I tried to trim my balls, and it sucked. With an old razor? Come on now. Keep the grooming game going with the Performance Package 4.0. Inside is the holy grail of men grooming items. They made it easy for you to upgrade your grooming routine. Their finely tuned trimmers feature a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to the advanced skin-safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 is easily the greatest ball hair trimmer on the planet. It's also waterproof, so in the shower, it's definitely essential. Get 20% off plus free shipping at manscaped.com/Lew. That's 20% off plus free shipping at manscaped/Lew. Trick or treat to your beautiful new Halloweeny with Manscaped. Thank you to Manscaped.
Possible.
Absolutely. And especially today, it's we live in a time where you can make a living from what you're passionate about. Usually there is some sort of audience in that case. Like, I wish YouTube was around in the mid-2000s. Or it was. It definitely was. It wasn't what it was today. Or I wish I found it in the mid-2000s, because I definitely am drawn to the filmmaking side. And, the drawing is part of it, right? But I actually do enjoy making more entertaining type videos these days. So we're always trying to find more ways to, get that retention up for sure. But
Right.
but even just general entertainment through the videos. That's why these days I'd like to add more to the videos if I can, right? More challenges, more drawings if I can.
So like
Right,
in your recent video, are you talking about some of the tactics, like how the way that you're describing the challenge or the energy of the video? Like what specifically are you
Oh, for
referencing?
sure. Definitely. The way I cut shots, it's very choppy now. Before I would just leave the camera on and then I would just talk, and it was very slow, but tightening things up a lot. And you could see everything jumps around a lot now. But I'm finding the audience finds it a little more. They like it more, and they feel less inclined to skip ahead. But they're enjoying like shots like this.
Right.
Here
Yeah. I
and
mean,
there,
that's
right? You know what I mean?
that's truly an endless endeavor trying to adapt
Right.
to the styles of storytelling and
Mm-hmm.
challenges and like just the YouTube landscape as it's ever shifting.
Oh, for
in
sure.
the viewership habits and whatever the target demographic. Like I'm watching this. I'm assuming this would be a younger audience that would be into this.
Actually, it's a mix. It's
a mix.
definitely a mix because like a lot of the characters, like a lot of people our age, they're very adept to Marvel characters.
I just know with
Right, for sure.
my own kids,
Yeah.
they would often be looking for videos because they would want to draw themselves as well. They would be also looking for inspiration.
Oh, for sure, absolutely. Well, but looking at my analytics, usually 18 to 24, and even the middle one, like it changes per video, and it's
Sure.
really weird sometimes.
course.
I guess it also depends on the subject matter,
Right.
as well. And of course, like Marvel characters always do better on my channel than when I'm trying to do other things.
Of course.
Well, things, of course. So it's always a balance, trying to figure it out. Yeah. But this type of stuff, it's harder though. It absolutely got a lot harder. So I ended up finally hiring a team together to help me with all the filming and stuff, so I could just concentrate on the drawing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing.
So you have somebody filming, somebody editing as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I have. I hired. Well, since also because I found once my wife passed, it was really hard for me to kind of concentrate and do work and to help me get over it, or at least
How long ago did this happen?
My wife passed away 3 months ago. 3 months ago, and I think last month. So I took a couple months off, and just took it easy. Spend some time with the kids, and as long as I'm with the kids, I'm fine. When the kids go to school, though, it's a little tough. So I'm like, okay, maybe I should do some work, but then it's hard because I'm by myself. So I went and I hired 2 of my best friends. I said, okay, come on over, let's work on this together. So 1, I'm not alone. Number 2, it helped me kind of get working again, and it's helped a lot. It definitely helped a lot to kind of cope. Like everyone deals with things different ways, and I think one advantage I had was that because I knew years ago that this was going to happen, it's not like someone who.
What do you mean by that? You knew years ago.
I knew the doctor told us we only had a few years left.
Immediately they gave you that.
Yeah,
Wow.
pretty much.
So-
He told us we only had, if we were lucky, about 3 years. That's what he told us, and he was pretty on the money, actually. Yeah. So.
What a crazy moment.
Oh yeah, absolutely, because you understand you're married with kids, and that moment, like if I would have found out like a few months ago, it'd be a different story, right? There would be no way I'd be able to work right now. But me and my wife, when we found out, we prepared. We definitely prepared for this moment. It didn't make it any. I don't think it made it any easier, but at the same time, we were way better prepared than if it was like if she would have passed in like a car accident or something like that, very
Right.
sudden.
Right.
Like, of course, I knew because once I heard that 3 years ago, like, of course, devastating at the time. It was, of course, how could it not be? But at the same time, we wanted to make sure that the kids would be okay, that we had a plan for them, plan for me, plan for her family when the time came. And so when we saw earlier this year, when we saw that it was probably going to happen this year, that's when we really tried to prepare ourselves for it. So,
I mean, I don't know how much you want to talk about
oh,
this.
for sure, please. Yeah.
I'm just curious because, I mean, you mentioned that you have kids. I have kids too.
Yes.
I mean, you can obviously, you can't really be prepared for a situation like that, but you are also constantly trying to guide them as much as possible through a variety of circumstances. You just happen to, obviously bump into a very complicated and unexpected circumstance.
Right.
What do you tell them? How did your kids deal with it?
Well, of course, it was tough. Like me and my wife, we sat down with them and we told them what was going to happen, and that no matter what, we will always, like, I was always going to be there for them. They'll always be taken care of. But that's really all you could do, to be honest. And just to be there for them every single day. And it is tough for them, of course. How can it not be? But it's also funny because the younger ones, you could tell that they don't understand as much as the older ones do. My older daughter does, because she's almost an adult now, so definitely hits her differently than the kids. But all I can do is to be there for them, talk to them. So and that's another reason why I have workers, is that when my kids are home, that I could be there with them, and I don't have to worry about the channel. So I could be there with them as much as I can at the same time. But at the same time, that's all you could do. I wish there was like a written manual about how to deal with this. It's tough. And part of me thinks and I guess this is a message for anyone with a family, because part of me thinks, always wonders what would happen if we caught this earlier, because when we found out, it was already stage 4 at this time. And I was thinking, okay, did we miss a doctor's appointment? Did we miss something going on at this time? And I actually have friends in my age. I'm in my 40s now, but I have friends who just finding out they have colon cancer, and they just, I'm at that age where things are going to happen now, and just trying to be better prepared now. So now that my wife's gone, I want to make sure my kids at least have me, at the same time. So I'm doing my best now to make sure that I'll be here for them at the same time. Right. So
and I guess the message with, and I don't, who knows in this particular circumstance, I think it's like human nature to think of all the ways in which you could have avoided a particular circumstance. Sure. You think to yourself, if I had done this or if I had done that, would it be different than it is? But
absolutely, yeah.
Depending on cancer specifically, sometimes people don't get checked out as early as they may have a sign or a symptom.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so there is kind of an opportunity there, I guess, to send a message out there that, like, if anything is up with you, if anything is kind of off, then might as well get checked out. I don't know.
Yeah, especially for us, like we're in Canada, so at the very least, it's very easy for us to get checked out. But like it's worth the money. Just even if you don't have healthcare, just try to find out what's wrong with you.
Yeah.
At the same time, because you never know, especially if you have kids, right? Especially with kids, you don't know what's going to happen, right? Or at least be prepared for it. The good thing about my wife knew when she found out, she prepared everything. She made sure our insurance was in check. She made sure that no matter what, everything will be paid off eventually. She made sure, at least monetarily, we'll be okay. The family, that the future of the kids, their colleges, all of that was taken care of. She made sure, and sometimes we don't even think about that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
No, for sure.
Like even like you have a business, I have a business. I got to find out if something happens to me, what happens to the business? How's that get divided with the kids? I got to make sure I got a will that really structures all of this. Right. Kind of thing. Things I didn't really think about.
Right.
Yeah, but now I have to.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Life kind of shows you that, or uncovers those elements and those aspects, and
for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one nice thing about it in your case, especially the way that you've told the story here, is that she was so supportive of what you were doing, even in the early days.
Absolutely.
And so when it comes to moving forward, you have that in the back of your head, that there's that encouragement there, even if she is no longer here.
Absolutely.
And so even though it's like you never really move on, but you can kind of get back to some sense of normalcy, especially in the confidence of knowing that that's probably what she would want you to do.
Oh, absolutely. And she actually told me that too before she passed. She told me she wanted me to continue doing what I do and doing what I love. And like you said, there were many times she could have told me to stop, right? Just even when I was working in comics, there were some dry times at that time. She could have told me, go get a real job. She had every right to do that.
Right.
But every time she always wanted me to follow my dreams and to do what makes me happy. And that's why I owe all of this to her at the end of the day. Right. So.
Right. Yeah. And I see you got a couple pieces of tribute art.
Yes.
Yes. On the channel.
Yes. This particular piece of art here, I actually drew this for her a few years ago. It was for her birthday, and I never really showed anybody this piece here. But this was a piece of my kids and me. I drew us as the Avengers.
Cool.
And I never really showed this to anybody, but I thought,
now it was a fitting time to do it.
Yeah. Because all this time too, like she never wanted to be known right? She never wanted to be in the spotlight or anything. But I felt, people should know who she was because of how much she inspired me. At the same time, her name was Ruth, and she was a nurse, and she was everything to me. And I wouldn't be here without her.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. That's big, man.
Yeah.
To have a support system like that and encouragement, it's enormous. It's huge. I love a lot of people miss out tremendously on the experience, and then the who they might be with some of that in their life.
Absolutely.
Just a little tiny push or a little tiny bit of encouragement. I mean, it's really easy to get down on yourself or to doubt yourself.
Right.
It's very easy, I mean, particularly if you're on the internet. And
Yeah, for sure.
Comments and
Absolutely.
whatever else comes with it. You can just as easily any day convince yourself that you shouldn't be doing something as much as you can convince yourself that you should be doing something.
Absolutely, yeah.
So when people, a lot of times people ask me, should I do a YouTube channel? What should my YouTube channel be about? And I always want to ask them some questions about how they deal with criticism.
Right.
Or how they, or like do you have a thick skin? It's like there's like a psychological assessment of, I don't want to be a part of pushing you towards something that is not going to be what you think it is.
Absolutely,
it's going to require a certain amount of resilience in the first place to kind of continue with it. But and I'm sure, I mean, I don't know how many videos you've posted here, but certainly enough.
Yeah, for sure.
To have had a little bit, a taste of that flavor.
Oh no, absolutely, every day. Well, for sure. But I think that's where the freelance world helped me out. Working with editors helped me out. So a lot of the bad comments came a lot earlier. So I think when I got here, I was much better prepared for the bad comments for sure.
That's
than I think the
interesting.
regular guy for sure, because I've been rejected from editors for years, or times where when I was working on Percy Jackson, the visual effects producer, he didn't like my work. Oh boy. I don't blame him. Looking back now, I was pretty slow and my work wasn't up to snuff, I guess, at the time. But he didn't like it.
Wow.
It didn't work out. But he won an Academy Award, so I guess he must have been right.
So would that be like him? Would he have raised his voice? Is this an in-person thing, or would this have been?
No, not like that. It's more when we actually go and we actually look at the work.
Okay.
And then, this is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong.
I see.
Right. So a lot
critique.
Yes, exactly. The critiques. Fair critiques. Let's say fair. So I would never say he was unfair. I would never say that. But years of criticism, that definitely helped me accept it at the same time. So whenever someone reacts to my video, even negatively, that's why I always take it, okay, there's a reason why this person's saying it. Either they're saying it just to get some attention or clout, or maybe this person actually has a point to what they're saying. So I'm always trying to figure out, what that is. And does this person have a point in it? If he does, then I'm more than willing to apply it to my craft, right?
Are you so in that case then, are you glad that you had a chance to have some work experience outside of the internet or social media before transitioning into that?
Absolutely. I don't think I would have lasted this long. I've been here since 2013 right now. I don't think I would have lasted this long without that experience. Also, the amount of work that I put out on my channel, I couldn't have done that without all the experience I've had in all my many jobs. Like all of this is like a culmination of everything I've been doing in my artwork, in my art career. Like even my VFX. Like if you show the rock video that I did, we've been playing around also with some of compositing and visual effects in there. So we did some fun things where I'm trying to give the rock the drawing here. So we did this thing where one of my workers, he's actually a former student of mine. I taught visual effects at Centennial College, and I hired him. And so he does a lot of the compositing work for me. So
where did you go, Will? You were in this world as well.
Yeah.
What, college?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm saying like specifically animation. No.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, which school did you go to?
I went to Seneca.
You went to Seneca? Right on.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
You know Jim Zub?
Oh yeah.
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 I just interviewed him 2 days ago.
Right on.
Yeah, right
Cool.
on.
Who is this that we're talking about?
Jim's
He's
up. He's
my animation teacher.
Yeah, he's an animation teacher over there. He also writes a lot of comic books for Marvel as well. So,
Oh, cool.
yeah. So.
Will's about to give him a shout out here.
Oh, there you go. Hey, Jim. You get a shout out, buddy.
Canadian comic book writer.
Yes. He
Oh,
does a
cool.
lot of. Yeah, he does a lot of fun stuff. Never quit his teaching job though. He loves teaching, and that's the thing too. Like I stopped teaching this year, mainly because of what happened, but also I found that like I mentioned, the VFX industry changes so much, and I've been teaching since 2015. It came to the point where the students know more than me. And
When you say the industry changes, are you talking about like the tools and the software and things
yes,
like this?
Exactly. Yes. The different software, it changes every year. Before, a lot of my, like 100% of my work would be in Photoshop. It would all be there. And now they're adding in different programs like the Nuke, this compositing software. And then now, my old job, it's all 3D now. They don't even use a lot of Photoshop in terms of building all the sets and stuff. So before I could get away with just photoshopping some mountains and trees and all that stuff. But now they actually generate everything.
What would
today.
be the advantage of that? Why would they transition?
Well, if there's multiple shots, it's a lot easier because then they just need to swing the camera around, and it's a little bit easier.
so
it depends.
everything is 3D, nothing is 2D.
Well, it depends where you work, but yeah, it's definitely going that way. It's definitely going that way. When I went to Lucasfilm, when I told you I went to the Star Wars show, I talked to the visual effects artists there, and they told me people don't have my job at that time. They didn't have. I was a matte painter. Called us a matte painter. For those who don't know what matte painting is, I call it filling in the green screen, right? So a guy standing there, green screen. You need some mountains in the back. I'm your guy. I'll paint some mountains in the back, right? So there you go, matte painting in Photoshop, right? So a lot of this before we just take pictures of rocks and stuff, kind of cobble them together. They call it photo bashing. I think that's so harsh. That's all bashing, you know. I tell my students photo uniting. Unite them. It's nicer, right? Never caught on. Never caught on. People like bad words, but so we would do stuff like this, right? We would take photos and it would make it a real scene, and then we would project these images onto some 3D, set a camera through it, and it would have that real feel, like you're actually in that scene. But these days, they're going more and more towards like a fully 3D generated environment now. So, which I don't know how to do. A little bit above my what I did back in the day.
Wow.
So, yeah.
It's like everything's a video game now.
Yeah, for sure. Pretty much. Unreal Engine.
It gives you more flexibility, I suppose, and probably making changes and things like that.
For
if
sure.
you ever had to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's always amazing to me how technology influences creativity
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
and how the tools change the outputs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And so if the tools at the time when you were coming up or, it happened to be Photoshop that people were using, then here's what things look like and here's a style or here's what's being produced. And then the tools change and then so does the output.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Because I remember when I went to Lucasfilm, they showed me the old band paintings before they used to paint on glass, right?
talking
Like
about
there,
this
right
guy
there.
over
Yeah,
here,
that guy
yeah.
there. That was the original.
That is
They would paint on glass,
insane.
yeah. And the weird part about it, or the sad part about it, is once they get the shot, they clean the glass. They actually so a lot of this artwork doesn't exist anymore because they actually clean the glass because they need the glass for other things.
It exists in the sense that it's on film.
Exactly, yes,
So you
yes.
have that at least.
Yes,
but
but the
imagine what those would be worth.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
From the original
A lot of money,
movies, if
yes.
it was still on glass.
Yes, for sure.
That is, man, Star Wars definitely deserves some credit for that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It's like prop making too.
But they had nothing,
Physical.
man. They had nothing. This guy talking about software and in 3D and
Yes.
I want to change this or I want to do that or whatever.
Right.
And you look at Star Wars and what they had to work with.
Oh no, absolutely. And when you think about how they had to, it was all on film, right? So they had to take a shot of it and then kind of combine it with the film. It's so like when they were telling me the process. First of all, I was just confused. Like, where's the computers? Where's the computers? I don't know, right? So,
You can't even imagine putting together the team of people that would be experts on all these aspects of what you were planning on doing.
right, exactly.
You'd be like, oh, who do we call up for that? I don't know. He doesn't exist yet. Let's
Right.
look for somebody who's an expert in this other thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Because look at all the building all the models and
Yes, absolutely.
painting and
Yeah. Well, that's why Lucasfilm was the pioneer of a lot of this stuff. Like Oh, what's his name? I'm gonna forget his name, but
George Lucas?
no.
Jim Henson?
No. The visual effects supervisor. He created Photoshop and
What?
Lucasfilm. Yeah, that's where. Yeah, he created Photoshop. I forgot his name. Oh, and I met him too.
Will, you're not going to be able to track this down.
Yeah, we
man.
gotta track this down.
No
Oh, that's
way.
him.
Oh, all right.
The third one.
Willie-doo.
The third one. That guy. What's his name? John Knoll. That's him. John Knoll. He invented Photoshop.
Doubting my skills.
Yeah,
I
there
don't
you
know.
go.
How dare you?
I think that they've improved recently.
go.
I think they've improved recently.
Yeah.
So what is it?
father of
So this
Photoshop.
guy was a part of Star Wars and then Photoshop?
Well, he created. I believe I could be wrong, but I believe he created Photoshop for use in the movies, right? And then it just expanded to what it is today, right?
Cool.
John
Once
Knoll.
again, that's
John
that.
Knoll, yeah.
That's that.
The original creators of
John
Photoshop.
Knoll.
There you go, John.
That's the interesting relationship between technology and software and creativity, and how that you need the tool to do the thing you want to do. So you
sure.
feel motivated to build the tool. And then once people have the tool, they do
Right.
whatever they want with it.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So were you a fan of these movies even like as a kid, the sci-fi stuff or superhero stuff?
Definitely the superhero stuff for sure. Star Wars, actually, I didn't become a fan until later in life. My dad never took me to a Star Wars movie back in the day. Actually, the very first Star Wars movie I saw was Attack of the Clones.
Whoa.
And I loved it. That's how I fell in love with Star Wars, Attack of the Clones. I was like, oh, okay. And then I went back and actually started revisiting all of the different movies. I fell in love with Doug Chiang's work. Doug Chiang, he's been working with Star Wars for forever. One of my heroes. And so I would get all the art of books for Star Wars, and that definitely influenced me when it came to a lot of my drawing, especially my Transformers drawings. I felt that helped me a lot. Looking at all of his work
Cool.
helped a lot. Yeah, this guy here.
What was the one Star Wars thing that you keep telling me is so good and it's animated?
Visions? No.
Attack of the Clones.
Oh, that's what he's talking
Was it
about.
Attack of the Clones?
It's like the cartoon.
Oh, the cartoon. Yeah, Clone
the
Wars.
cartoon. Clone Wars.
Clone Wars.
Yes.
Clone Wars.
Will's always
Very-
telling me that this
very
Clone
well
Wars
done.
is really good.
Yes.
Oh, I actually haven't seen Clone Wars. I'll be
It's very
honest.
good.
I watched the movie one. I
Yes.
watched the movie one.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I recommend it.
It's amazing how you can create these enormous worlds and then people connect with them so deeply. And then the
Absolutely.
franchises exist for so long. Like, how many pieces of Star Wars content exist?
Yeah.
It's like
So many.
It's just, you can't even,
So many.
it's a tremendous franchise.
For sure.
I guess that's probably why Disney paid a few bucks for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Probably-
No, they got a deal. I think after.
Oh, really?
After I think they paid $4 billion, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
It's worth way more than that for sure. Wow. They could have got it for a lot more than that. But.
Did you ever think about your own characters or your own stories?
Well, I could tell you that I'm actually developing, those characters my son created. I'm actually crafting a story around all the. My daughter created some too. So one of my writers that I worked with when I was working on Transformers, me and him are teaming up, and we're trying to craft a story around their particular characters. It's just trying to find an outlet for it. So I'm not sure how to release it, whether that be comic book, but it feels a little old school to me. Right? Or should I tell it more like in an animated story or whatever? So we're still trying to work that out. We're taking our time with it.
I like that idea.
Yeah. So because my son came up with some cool characters, so we thought, okay, what would this guy do? So, yeah. So we'll see what happens. We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always interesting to me what the future plans are of a person in this space. Only because it's so all encompassing.
Right. Yeah.
Like once you get into the churn of it and you figure out your process
Right. Yeah.
for creating, publishing, and I mean even the business side of it, even setting up your relationships and figuring out who to hire and all this, but you really get into the groove of it, and then at some point you start wondering what's next.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And that's a pretty common trait across the people that I have here as well.
For sure.
And to me, that's always, I don't think that should ever go away.
No, for sure. Yeah.
Because I find that for me, that's a major motivator. It's like trying to discover what's next or what approach you want to take on something. So I fully support you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, one thing I really wanted to do, and also to kind of, I wanted to answer the questions I had when I was a kid, because when I was a kid, but to this day, my mom still thinks I'm unemployed at this point, right? She never got it, right? Growing up, she's like, "What do you do? Your wife's the nurse. She's paying the bills, right?"
Right.
But I wanted to do something where
your mom first of all, was your mom born here? She wasn't born here.
No, she wasn't born here. She was born in the Philippines. They came here in the 70s.
Right. So you can't blame her, really.
Yeah, no, absolutely, of course. And I think the moms just want to make sure you're going to eat. That's all. At the end of the day, so it's more she just doesn't understand the type of things I do.
Right.
I remember when I told the one I was most scared of when I quit my job in 2015. I was most scared to tell my mom I was going to quit my job. So I went to my mom and like, "Mom, I'm gonna quit my job in film." And she's like, "Okay, what you gonna do?" "Well, I'm gonna do some YouTube stuff and I'm gonna teach at the I'm gonna teach in the college on the side." And she goes, "Oh, college professor, huh? Wow, my son's a professor. Wow." Right? So
You just gave her that little piece.
Give that something
to grip on
It's like, "Oh yeah, professor, good."
Something she can tell her relatives and friends. My son is fine.
Exactly, right? So I want to give, because I know I'm not the only one. So I want to help these kids who want to be creative. First of all, I want to give them options. I want to show them what's possible out there because, they could work in animation. They could work in YouTube. They could sell NFTs they could do all these things these days.
Right.
And I want to give them an outlet for that. So couple things I am working on. First of all, I have this podcast where I'm interviewing professionals. I like Jim Zub. That's what that was for. Pretty much just to show kids how can you actually make a living. I like doodling in my sketchbook. How can I make money off this?
Yeah.
Well, I want to show kids how they could do that. So that's one way. But I'm also in the works of creating a documentary on. I'm going to start with comic books, and because I have a toe in that field, I know so many people. So people who don't know what's involved in comic books, I'm going to interview all these people. I'm going to interview all these directors. They agreed to be a part of this. Just to show kids how comic book art really influences the pop culture that we see today. That a lot of the scenes that you see in your favorite Marvel movies, those are ripped from a comic book. Some directly, some panel to panel. So some comic book artists came up with that idea eventually, and also I want to give them a little shine as well at the same time. So that's a longer term project. I also want to write a book about it as well. So it's at this point, it's more about inspiring the next generation the way my wife inspired me. That's what I want to do.
I like that.
Yeah.
Pass it forward like that.
Absolutely. Yes, for sure.
Do you think that you could, this is going to be a difficult task here, but maybe there's somebody listening to this right now that is a youngster that is having a similar experience to you where they're passionate or enthusiastic about something. Maybe it doesn't have to be art, but just something.
Right, yeah.
And you went through having to sort of push through, convince people, or whatever, stick to it. What could you offer up to that individual that's in that? Because you've been at it now for a number of years.
Yes, absolutely.
So presumably along the way, you've learned something.
Absolutely. Well, one advantage that I had was because I went to so many different art fields. I went into comic books. I thought that was for me, and it turned out it wasn't for me. Right? I went into film. I thought that was for me, and it actually turned out it wasn't for me at the same time, especially if you're young. First of all, I'll tell you, you're young, and you got a lot of time ahead of you, and it is time to experiment. Try everything, right?
Okay.
Sometimes, and especially with art, sometimes you don't know what kind of art you like to do at the same time. So just keep practicing different styles. Don't be open to try different things, right? And then maybe you'll find the one that not only that you like, but other people will like as well. And you'll feel that. You could definitely feel that.
Did you ever have apprehension as far as putting your stuff out, on the internet? Because I knew a lot of people growing up, creative types, who would maybe be into art or maybe be into music or whatever, but it would be like a sort of private endeavor. They wouldn't get to the point of really sharing it because that would open you up to criticism, and then that's the part where I think a lot of people would sort of leave it alone. Is the process of sharing it or taking it seriously, because then there's extra pressure associated with that.
Right, for sure.
So did you ever struggle with putting stuff out?
I'll actually say no because again, it was beaten out of me. The criticism, all those years, that definitely helped. That definitely helped. Now, earlier in my career, when I first started working in comics, of course, I would go to like message boards at that time. That's the only place you could see criticism on the message boards just to see, and it would definitely affect me a lot more than it would today.
Right.
Definitely affect me a lot more. But when it actually came time that being an influencer or being, actually posting my art, on Instagram and all that.
Yeah.
By that time, I've had so much criticism throughout my career. It's like, yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
I like this particular piece of art, so you're gonna like it or you're not gonna like it.
And I
at
think
the end of the day,
I think there's two ways to take it. Like I think,
Yeah.
even if it does sting you, there's a way you can interpret it where you can use it as fuel.
For sure.
You can like some extra energy to
Right.
to go after the thing that you want even harder. You can
Right.
you can look at the exact same comment
Mm-hmm.
and say, I'm going to give up, or you can look at that comment or that criticism and say, I'm going to improve.
Absolutely, and like I mentioned before, like maybe the person has a point too. They're like maybe they just say, that eye is a little wonky. Well, maybe it is a little wonky, right?
Did you ever get that exact comment?
Maybe. or something looks up. Maybe they have a point. Like the ones that are just like insulting, where like, oh, you suck. Okay, that's fine. All
Right.
But if they're actually like criticizing your art, and maybe they do have a point at the end of the day. Maybe you do want to listen and see how you could improve. And that's the thing. Like I see a lot of artists, especially on TikTok these days, and it's fast. That's one thing about the TikTok algorithm. They know how to find an audience for sure. And I see very defensive artists. I see artists who like to fight. I see artists who like they'll comment and they'll put the comment up here, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, well look at this," that type of thing. I guess that's the the younger generation or those people who aren't used to that kind of criticism at that time. But it takes time. It does hurt. It still hurts me. Time, but I learned to deal with it.
That's also
even better.
what you just said right there is also good advice as far as I'm concerned, which is it takes time.
It takes time.
Like all of it.
Yeah.
All of it takes time.
For sure.
It doesn't happen instantaneously, and it requires some level of commitment. When people ask me, like, how did you do anything? I often start with persistence. Like, I kept doing it. Other people may have jumped off this train at some point at much more reasonable spots along the way.
Right.
Persistence has been a really key component
Absolutely.
in everything for me, and it sounds like it is a key component for you as well.
For sure, and that's where loving what you do comes into play. Because if you love what you do, if you enjoy what you do, then it's fine if not many people watch, because at least you enjoy what you're doing.
That's something out of it.
Exactly, right? If you don't like what you're doing and you're just trying to get views, you're not gonna last very long at the same time. That's why I only like drawing the way I like to draw. You'll see, I only usually draw like the way I drew you guys, like a pen on board. Like people ask me to draw different ways or use paint and stuff, but I don't really like doing that. So maybe I'll get a few more views here and there, but it's not me. It's not what I like doing. Right? So I'd rather do my style, and if people like it, that's fantastic. Right? If they don't, that's fine too. That's fine too. There's other artists on YouTube, I'm sure, that they could watch as well.
This is some fantastic maturity that you're showcasing.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Well, listen, man, this has been a pleasure talking to you.
Oh.
You are like a vibrant personality.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
It's like fun to be in your presence.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Fun to be in yours as well.
I
Yes, for sure.
appreciate all the art that you've posted online, and then even the stuff that you brought that we can showcase ourselves now.
Yes.
So thanks for stopping by, and thanks for chatting.
Thanks for having me. Unbox Therapy, Box Office Artist. It was bound to happen. This had to happen,
There you go. The crossover they've all been waiting for.
There you go. Done. That was fun.